Welcome back to Season 2 of the Discount Property Investor Podcast. Our mission is to share with you what we have learned from our experience and the experience of others to help you make more money investing like a pro. We want to teach you how to create wealth by investing in real estate the Discount Property Investor way. Make sure you never miss an episode and download the Discount Property Investor app in Google Play or iTunes today. To jumpstart your real estate investing career, visit freewholesalecourse.com, the most complete free course on wholesaling real estate ever. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, welcome back, Discount Property Investors. Thanks for joining us today. I am actually joined by a woman that is doing big things in her market and actually nationwide. She is teaching women how to get into the real estate market. So I am joined by Whitney. Whitney, how are you today?
I'm fantastic, David. Thanks for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yes, I like to do these podcasts sometimes mobile. So right now I'm actually in Columbia, Missouri. I live in St. Louis. It's about 100 miles from here. And me and my business partner, we own about 130 bedrooms in this market, and we're turning them all over. So we have a bunch of duplexes, single families. So I am here mobile, actually at a Home Depot today. So this is always fun doing it mobile and on the job. It makes for a good, fun podcast. So Whitney,
I love it.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining me. So tell me a little bit about how you got started in real estate and how long ago.
My mom was a real estate investor, and she did things kind of the old, slow, boring way where she'd save up a bunch of money and then go buy something and then rent it out and just hope she got her money back eventually. Like, she was just kind of a, landlord. And
that was your mother?
That was my mom, and she didn't really have any plans or strategies or, structure or anything. She just kind of would happen upon a deal every great once in a while and buy it, and that's how she built her portfolio. And so when I started, I was like, well, crap, I'm going to need a bunch of money to get in. So I bought some land. Actually, I bought a half-acre piece of industrial land for $1,500. And then I rented it for $750 a month. So in 2 months, I had all my money back, and we were really cash flow. And I was like, hot dog, I could do this more often. But then I got a little ahead of myself and said, well, I bet I could buy houses too. So I took my life savings and I bought a house like my mom did. No plan, no strategy, no nothing. And then
life savings.
I took my entire life savings and built
and bought one or two?
Bought a house. One
okay.
house. But
did you have any debt on that one, or was it just a cash house?
It was an auction.
It was an auction. Okay, cool.
So I had to pay cash.
Right.
But while I was looking at that house, I found another house that was for sale by owner, and it was about the same price. So I spent my brother's life savings buying that one, and suddenly we were partners.
Okay, interesting.
We were siblings and partners, and I'd spent our entire life savings in about 30 days, both of our life savings. We really went broke trying to get rich.
Yeah.
And that's how our mom did it. That's all we knew.
Okay.
Then, by the grace of God, I met the Real Estate Investors Association people in Knoxville. And at the first...
So is this just a RIA group then? And you're in Knoxville?
Yes. And
okay,
I never heard...
How many RIAs are there in Knoxville?
One.
Just one. So you met the people that hosted the RIA and went to some meetings. I'm assuming you probably still go, right? Are you pretty active with the group?
Oh, yeah. I love it. I love it.
Perfect.
The president, Victor Jernigan, changed my life.
Cool.
So at that first meeting I went to, he was like, hey, we're going to have a special class on lease options. I think you should come. And I was like, look, old man, I'm a real estate agent. I'm a real estate investor. Like, I know everything I need to know about real estate. Like, I was in my 20s. I was like 27, 28 at this point. So I clearly know everything there is to know about life, right?
Yep.
And he was like, I want you to go. I think you're really going to like it. And I said, yeah, I don't really know. We went back and forth. He said, look, if you'll go to this, if you don't learn anything, I'll give you your $75 back. And I was like, all right, old man, I can take that.
Yeah.
So I went, and within 15 minutes, the guy teaching on lease options had showed us how to make $100,000 in like 4 weeks with none of our own money invested, which spoke to my heart because I didn't have any money anymore. And he showed us how to do these deals with no credit, no banks, no license. I was in hook, line, and sinker.
Okay.
And that was the beginning of the end.
So was that a weekend class or just like a one-day thing?
It was a one night, like 3-hour thing where he was just talking about lease options in general. And at that meeting, he mentioned he was going to this guru the next month in Florida who knew all about lease options, and I was convinced I needed to know. So even though I was broke, I put $3,000 on my credit card that I didn't know how I'd pay back, and booked myself a trip to Florida so I could go figure this stuff out for real.
Who'd you go see in Florida?
Ron LeGrand.
Oh yeah, he's the man when it comes to the lease options and the creative financing, and really one word wraps up his stuff, in my opinion, terms.
Terms, for sure. And so for the next year, I went and spent a week with Ron to learn more and more and more and more and more, everything I could. And then I had to come back to Tennessee and kind of translate it. And I don't know about you, but my second language that I speak is redneck. I'm very fluent in it. But Ron doesn't teach that way. So I had to translate it. And I spent a lot of time really going through and making sure I was doing real estate investing like a lady, which is also different than the way Ron teaches it. And so that I could relay it to these rednecks that I was buying these houses from.
Okay, that makes sense.
I say that very endearingly.
Right. Yeah, well, it's all about building rapport and having a good relationship with the sellers. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's what I did, and I made $15,000 in 8 weeks doing a lease option, and I made almost $140,000 in my first 9 months learning how to do this. And I was, when I was getting started, when I bought those first 2 houses, I worked for my mom. She's got 4 dump truck companies. I was making $2,000 a month. I was making $25,000 a year.
Okay, well, that's a pretty substantial increase in pay. You got 6x on your trading time for money, so that's pretty awesome. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So I figured, and I was working all 4 jobs and investing, and I, like you said, made a lot more money. So the next year I started investing in apartments, and by the end of the next year, I wasn't trucking anymore. It didn't take me long to figure out how to make more money in real estate than trucking, and I could have a lot more free time.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So walk me through one of these lease option deals, like basically just give me the nuts and bolts, if you don't mind, on how you go about finding them, how you position yourself, and then how you structure it, because that could be 2 different things, as we both know, and then how you exit, and then when and how often do you get paid?
So I get paid 3 different ways. I find sellers. Most of my sellers are tired landlords, and they have a house that they've had for 5 or 10 years, so they've paid down a little bit on it, so there's a little bit of equity. I buy it for what they owe on it. I control it for what they owe on it. I take over their payments, which is usually less than what I can rent it for, and then I sell it. I lease option it back out. I do the sandwich lease options. I sell it for what the house is worth. So I make money because I don't give them any money to do these deals, but people pay me to move in. I have a low monthly payment and I can rent it for more. So I make money every month. So that's the second way. And then I make money because I buy it for what they've paid down on it, but I sell it for what it's worth. So I make money 3 different ways there.
Okay. It does. And I do some lease options in my market as well. And I'm just curious because I lost you there. So I get the business. I understand it completely. But the question that I have is whenever you go to, well, first and foremost, because a lot of my listeners, they're not familiar with how these deals work. So let's try to just take a break right for a second and explain it to them.
Okay, cool.
Whenever you're going into these tired landlords and you basically tell them that you can take this problem off their hands. So you can go in and you can essentially be the person that's leasing the property. Do you have to start making them payments right away?
No, I get 90 days to make my first payment. And so let's talk about what a lease option is.
90 days to make your first payment. Sure.
A lease option, in very simple terms, is just a really fancy rental agreement with the opportunity to buy the house in the future for a price we agree upon today. Like, that's just it.
Right.
It
So
doesn't
within your 90-day period that you have to get, no, it's that simple. I get it. I get it. Again, I do these myself. So whenever you have 90 days, does that mean that you have 90 days to find a tenant buyer? Basically somebody that wants to rent and or buy the home from you. And if you don't find that person, are you still required to make your payment?
Yes.
So you're signing a pretty solid lease with the landlord then. And how many months are you typically signing these for?
I get 5 to 10 years, so 60 to 120 months. But I also, when I go in and I'm helping these landlords, like, I've got 3 criteria that I know these landlords or these sellers are going to be, like, I'm going to be helping them. And my word is still my bond. And so, like, I usually don't have a problem finding somebody in 3 months to take this over from me. But I have had some that I've had to make a payment on for 1 or 2 months. And it's mostly because of the time of year. If I get a house in December and nothing's going to open up and get going until April or May, I might have to make 2 payments, but I'm going to know that going in. And so I let my sellers make those payments. I also tell them that, there's a chance I could come back and just want to renegotiate. Or instead of asking for 3 months, I would ask for 6 months and let them know it's because we're in the dead of winter and nothing's going.
Got it. And that makes complete sense. I love that you are transparent with your sellers.
Truth. Always.
You have to. You gotta, and that's the way I approach not only my wholesale business, but my rental business and my lease option business. Sorry about that. I make sure that everybody is aware of what's going on, because if you have transparency in your transaction, it lets everybody know that it's easy, and no one's going to get screwed.
Exactly. And sellers love that. And the 3 things that,
2024. I'm here.
The 3 things that I'm looking for is I want empty houses, so I don't want anybody living in it. I don't want the seller in it. I don't want their tenants in it. I don't want their kids in it.
Okay.
I want it off market, so no agents. I'm the broker for Whitney Buys Houses in Tennessee and Georgia, but most agents just don't get it. Like, they were taught it in school and continuing education, but they don't practice it, so they don't get it. So non-listed, no agents, and I don't deal with F word. So I don't want anybody that's behind on their payments. It's either paid off or current on payments.
Sure.
No foreclosures.
Yeah, because you have to make sure that you have the ability to then turn around and sell that house. It can't be going into.
And I want control immediately.
Right.
Because
okay.
If I get 90 days, but I can make it happen in 10, then I'll make it happen in 10. I'll start making the next month's payment. That's cool. It's worst case scenario. It takes me 90 days.
Right.
Best case scenario, I get a really good deal and somebody who's pre-approved and just wants to cash me out will do it. And then we don't even have to do the lease option. Sellers love that.
Yeah, they do love that. So
I'll make.
So you're going in the. No, I get that. So how many of these lease options do you think you've done so far since you started?
I did 57 the last time I counted, but I've gotten 8 of my houses back this summer, so I'm up in the 60s somewhere.
That's cool. That's awesome. Very cool. That's a ton of them. So do you whenever you go into the landlord though, whenever you tell them you're going to do a 5 or 10 year lease with them, have you had people that have done lease options with you that they've moved out 2 or 3 times? Like, you've had to basically redo the scenario 2 or 3 different times, because not everybody can fulfill that agreement.
That's what's beautiful about this. I've only had one guy get his mortgage.
You've only had one guy get his mortgage.
Yep. And see, that's the thing that gets on my nerves about the gurus is when they see these people and they're making $80,000 or whatever, a lot of that's in a back-end payday. And I'm telling you right now, I've only had one back-end payday, so I don't count that. My numbers, my student success numbers are smaller than everybody else because my numbers are real, not made up maybe one day.
Right. So are you making the majority of your money on the option deposit that basically gets forfeited then? Because I know the rent and the ones I've done and the ones that I've have friends and whatnot across the country that do it, sometimes they're only making $150 to $200 a month in cash flow. Other times they're making $450 to $700 if it's a it's a multifamily building that has the ability for 2 or 3 or 4 people to be paying the rent. So the cash flow part of the game isn't really that great, in my opinion. But you can get the option deposit, and then you can then get paid on the end. So you've said of the roughly 60, only one person. And that's kind of crazy because I feel like that's pretty standard national numbers. And as you stated earlier, the gurus are always saying, yeah, I made 80 grand. Well, that's fine. You do 1,000 of these type of deals, and you may have, 25 of them that actually go all the way to the finish line. And those are when you can get those big paydays. But you can also make 5 or 10 grand on every option deposit, and you can do that every 12 months. Am I getting this right?
Exactly. Like my goal, because I work mostly with women because we're just busy. All right. I know dudes are busy too, but women are really busy. So I try to convince these ladies they don't need to do 10 deals a month. You just need to do 1 deal a month and make 5 or 10,000, get you a steady 12. And then, like you said, once a year, one bounces back and forth, and now you don't have to talk to sellers anymore. You have your set package, and you just ping pong 5 or 10,000 out of each one of these houses once a month.
Right.
Perfect. It's just 1 deal a month. That's
so are you doing, so whenever you're going in to buy, is it always a 5 or 10 on your side?
Unless they're going to give me 15 or 20.
Are you willing to do a 20-year lease with somebody?
Amen. Yes. I'll give you more money the longer you give me. And I'll tell you one thing that I do that does make my numbers better. I use these option deposits, and I don't go to Vegas. I actually pay off houses. I know that's shocking. But out of my 15 houses, 7 of them are free and clear now.
That's pretty awesome. I got about 7 free and clear myself.
Most of the people that are doing this, the reason their cash flow is crap is because they're only getting 150 or 200, where I'm getting, 7 houses with full payments every month.
Right. And that adds up a ton.
That helps a lot. Yeah.
Right. That's very cool.
So
tell me about
pay off houses, and then as I make some, you make 20 or 30 here and there, you save that till you make another 20 or 30, and then you pay one off. And in my market, houses are 100, 150. So now that I've had them for 3, 4, 5 years, there's a lot of them that I bought that I only owe 50 or 70 or 100 on, that I can, as I sell one, I have one that's supposed to close. Was supposed to close the end of this month. Obviously that's not happening, but should close the end of next month, and I'll make 80 grand on it. I'll pay, let's take that back. I'm going to make 169,000, but I've already got one house that I owe like 85,000 on. So I'm going to pay that one off with 160. So I'm going to actually profit 85,000 so I can look at another house that I can pay off next time I get 30 or 40,000.
It's awesome. Very cool. So how can you teach women around the country to do what you do?
A lot of times, it's...
And you are only working with women?
Well, I can't stop men from joining, but I just really, really, really encourage women. And all my stuff's pink, but I do have several dudes, and they actually like learning from me because there's less ego, I guess you could say.
Yeah, no, I get that. It makes perfect sense.
And as, women make a lot of big purchases. And so learning this from a woman's perspective helps men do more deals. But it also really helps women because they're a lot of times going up against a good old boys club, and I can show them how to, work what their mama gave them to make these deals happen and keep everybody happy. And a lot of my sellers were women. So we help women. We speak woman talk.
Yeah. So how can women and I guess men too that would like to work with you, how can they reach you? How can they get a hold of you? Do you have a place online, a website, a group on Facebook, anything along those lines?
Yes, I have a pretty big group on Facebook. And
cool. Tell us about it.
It's Become a Real Estate Investor with Whitney Nicely. And really, a lot of my people are already real estate investors. They just want to get creative. They want to do, instead of 2 deals a year, they want to do 14 deals. They don't want to go to the bank anymore. Or maybe they have friends with money and they want to help their friends invest their money in real estate. Or maybe they're getting into apartments, or like whatever it is. But you can always become a bigger, better, badder version of your real estate investing. But
that's nice.
WhitneyNicely.com/group.
Okay.
And that'll direct you straight over to my Facebook.
That forwards you back over. So Whitney Nicely, Nicely. Did I get that right?
Nicely, like nicely done. Nicely.
Nicely. WhitneyNicely.com/group. Or what's the name of the group if you're in Facebook searching?
Become a Real Estate Investor.
become a real estate investor with Whitney Nicely.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I'm going to check that out. I'm going to be in the group. I hope that's okay. And I promote all my listeners, all my viewers, all my students to also join and check out Whitney Nicely. And Whitney, you do a mentoring program?
I do. I've got kind of a self-study program, first deal done fast. And then I've got FDDF Plus, which is group coaching.
Okay, that's really awesome. And then you host events too, live a couple times a year. Tell us about that.
I have 4 events every year. The first one is mostly on apartment investing, multifamily. The second one is on private money profits, how to borrow money from your friends who are getting like no return in their 401k and IRA and help them make bank. And then the third one is on short-term rentals, vacation rentals, Airbnbs, VRBOs, those things.
Okay.
And the last one is FDDF Live, and it's coming up in November in Knoxville. And I'm super excited about it. So
you do 4 events a year. They're basically quarterly, I'm assuming, and then each one has a different topic and a theme.
Yes, and
that's really awesome. So how does somebody learn more about that? Would they go to WhitneyNicely.com? Is there information on there?
There's an events tab on WhitneyNicely.com. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Well, Whitney, thank you so much for joining me today. I've learned a lot. I love talking to people that have lease options and are doing lease options, and those who are also sharing. And I'm assuming you have a passion for teaching people how to do these type of things in real estate investing in general. How many years have you been investing in real estate thus far?
5 years.
5 years. That's awesome. So you quit your job in the last 5 years. You're making 4 to 6 times what you used to make. And I would imagine you're probably working 4 to 6 times less.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I take a lot more vacations.
A lot more vacations. That's so cool. Well, I encourage everyone to go check out WhitneyNicely.com/group. Also, her website is going to have a ton of information about her coaching programs as well as the quarterly events that she has. So that's awesome, Whitney. You are kicking butt. I love it. Keep it up. Is there anything else that you'd like to add in this episode of our podcast?
Just remember to keep going. Whether you're up or down, keep going because it's fun.
It is fun, and there's lots of money to be made. People need to jump in. That's what I tell my students. And most of the time, whenever I'm working with students, it's not that they don't have the knowledge or the ability to do these things. It's that they don't take action. So if you're listening to these podcasts, watching our YouTube channel, and you've seen us before in the past, and you know what we're doing, we share it all in these episodes, guys. We give it all away. And becoming an expert in this field is not rocket science. All the information's out there. Whitney, you know that. I know that. I have tons of information on our free course, freewholesalecourse.com. And, we're pushing all this information out there. But really, whenever the coaching comes in, it's really just about taking action. And I know you're good at getting people to do that because I love doing that.
I will say, too, that in my area of the country, every woman wants to be a Proverbs 31 woman. And a Proverbs 31 woman takes action. Verse 16 says she goes to inspect a field and she buys it. So y'all get out there and follow that verse. The second part says she plants a vineyard, so it says she drinks wine. But we'll get to that later. We got to take action first and buy these houses. That's
right. Take some action. Well, I'm getting ready to head back to one of our units now to finish getting them turned. How many units are we turning right now? 130 bedrooms? Sure. So we're taking action as well on our end here, Whitney. Whitney, it was great having you on the show. Until next time, and everybody check out Whitney's Facebook group, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye now.
David.
Thanks for listening to the Discount Property Investor Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to help us reach a wider audience. To jumpstart your real estate investing career, please visit freewholesalecourse.com, the most complete free course on wholesaling real estate ever. We would also appreciate it if you left us a review on iTunes or Stitcher. Thank you in advance for your support, and remember, you make your money when you buy, and you get paid when you sell. Now let's go build some wealth.